Hey everyone, we're back again. I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple things that's happening in sports right now in the past couple of weeks. I really don't commentate on sports every week or what have you, but I did want to address a couple of things. The former New England coordinators, Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia, they really been heating up the news waves the past couple of weeks because their conversation with their former player that they were addressing has gotten out. So first, let's start with Bill O'Brien. So the Bill O'Brien, the head coach of the Houston Texans, he called Hopkins in for a conversation, and reportedly, when he started the conversation, he told him, according to Michael Irvin from the NFL Network, he said the last time I had this type of conversation was with Aaron Hernandez, and the conversation went on to develop, talking about Bill O'Brien's displeasure with DeAndre Hopkins' attitude and everything. So, but he started the conversation with a comparison with Aaron Hernandez. That really happened. So I have a lot of thoughts on that. So I'll start there. So believe it or not, I see the situation from both sides. I really do. I'm in total agreement with Shannon Sharp, FS1. I'm in total agreement with Stephen A. Smith, ESPN, First Take. I understand. You don't start a conversation with that, okay? You don't start a conversation with, hey, the last time I had this conversation was with a known convicted murderer. You don't start. I mean, it's the subject matter isn't funny, but it's like, you have got to be kidding me, man. I'm laughing because of the lack of awareness, okay? Aaron Hernandez, unless you're talking about specifically him, his name shouldn't be coming up, okay? His name should not be coming up. I mean, I watched the 6-part documentary that TuneIn had on Aaron Hernandez. I mean, that was fascinating. I didn't watch the one on Netflix yet. But I did watch the one, the audio documentary on TuneIn and the TuneIn app. And I was just amazed. I mean, they went into his childhood and everything. But that's not even the point. If you know a little bit about Aaron Hernandez's background, it's like you ain't trying to be associated with that none whatsoever. Now, he's a person too. He has family too. But when you're the number one wide receiver in the league in terms of recent stats and production, you're projected to be, you're on a path to be an all-pro, potentially Hall of Famer. Okay, you're not trying to have a coach who haven't accomplished anything. Okay, he may have 1 or 2 playoff wins max. But you're not trying to have someone even relate. It's like, are you kidding me? So yeah, if someone says that to me, oh no, whatever comes out of your mouth next is just totally meaningless now, because you started the conversation with that. Okay, so what I believe that Coach O'Brien was trying to say, that it well documented, Aaron Hernandez had behavior problems with the team. Okay. Tom Brady had to correct him several times. Tom Brady had to kick him out of the walkthrough or out of practice several times. Because when you're an all-pro quarterback, all-pro quarterbacks lead the walkthrough. They lead the practice. They take control of the meeting. The coordinators and coaches don't even do that. All right, they leave it to their main guy, which I like. Okay, is because if you want success, you got to buy into what was happening. So, I mean, that was just, and out of all people, DeAndre Hopkins was letting letting Michael Irvin know what happened. I mean, that was a personal conversation to an extent. But from my understanding, DeAndre okayed it for him to share that with his job, the NFL Network. I mean, Michael Irvin he's an analyst, but he's also part of the media. So hello, when Michael Irvin speaks, everyone listens. Not just the great job he has done in the media. I mean, his 3 Super Bowl rings as a former player. I mean, come on now. When Michael Irvin speaks, everyone listens, okay? So, but man, that just, the last time I had this kind of conversation, I had with Aaron Hernandez. And that, oh my, woo. Look, Coach O'Brien, you got something, well, one, I believe that's how you naturally are. I never met you. Okay, but I just believe that's how you naturally are. So, for someone, so I'm saying that is because I believe Bill Belichick from New England. I'm sure he said a lot of things that is just unrepeatable. Okay, I'm sure he did. Okay, so you don't start a conversation like that. Okay, you was obviously getting ready to confront your star player. You were ready to have a uncomfortable conversation with him. But you're seen as the bad guy in this is because how you started the conversation. Now, here is the point of confrontation. Now this is from Jesus. Now, the point of confrontation is to preserve the relationship, which I believe Bill O'Brien was trying to do. I believe that's what he's trying to do. I wasn't there, okay? DeAndre Hopkins obviously didn't talk to me. But I believe Bill O'Brien was trying to preserve the relationship. But when Jesus confronts Peter on several occasions, he do it in the matter to preserve the relationship. However, he does it in a way that Peter can receive what Jesus is saying, okay? If you're going to confront someone, if you're in authority, by all means, confrontation is very uncomfortable. Not just the person receiving it, but sometimes the person who's giving it, okay? Because trust me, if they're confronting you, it has gotten to a point where, I can't let this go on much longer. Okay. So like that's the kind of mode of it. So that just, I believe Bill O'Brien was trying to preserve the relationship, but you just traded away the best wide receiver in the NFL for pennies, basically. I'm not trying to disrespect the dude from Arizona that they got for him. But it's like the running back, his name escapes me at the moment. But the running back haven't been very productive. He have dealt with a lot of injuries, and from my understanding, he has a huge contract. So it's like, ugh. So so in Bill O'Brien's mind, you traded away. Since Houston could not find a competent GM, they gave the management control powers to Coach Bill O'Brien. Okay, so here's my question: what has Bill O'Brien done to even deserve that kind of power? So we're just giving power away these days. not even earned, don't even have experience with it. You know, I understand you were at Penn State at the most difficult time, but it's like, I don't know, it's a little different. It's a little different. What you can't do as a professional coach is talk to a player as if they're still in college. You can't do that, okay? Because in college, coaches have all of the power. In the pros, the coaches are making $5 million a year, talking to an athlete that's making $80 million a year. The player has more leverage. It's easier for the owner or the GM or the president to replace the coach than it is to replace the player. Okay, so, but that's just unfortunate. That whole scenario was just very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate from my understanding that the meeting was very contentious. When you start off like that, you know, I do also want to address something. There was a time now, as I said earlier in this, I said that I understood both sides. Okay, so here we are. There was a time where you could have a confrontation. You could confront someone if you're in authority or not, whatever the situation is, and it doesn't go viral. Okay, and it doesn't go viral. Okay. I can imagine he called him into a meeting room, a conference room, what have you, to have that conversation, and it got very ugly. So whatever I tried to say to you in professional confidence, I need it not to be all over the country 10 minutes later, okay? So that's the other thing. When you talk to people these days, nothing's secret. Nothing is in confidence. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now that I can't fault Bill O'Brien with, okay? If Bill O'Brien said that, I believe that there was a way to address, a proper way to address that situation, okay? I mean, because number one, you can't answer to anyone who can't be held accountable, okay? Only people who are that deserve to be submitted to have to be submitted, okay? So you didn't like that. The way he said that to you, comparing you to Aaron Hernandez, was very uncomfortable. I can imagine. I'm with you 1,000%. There was a way to do that, okay? Telling of all people, Michael Irvin, who is naturally a talker, and he puts the for real conversation out into the stratosphere, okay? And it's like, and that situation was trending for a couple of days, and it's like, oh man. So Bill O'Brien was wrong. Also, putting all your business out on the street to make someone else look bad, you know. I mean, that's not just about DeAndre Hopkins. That's about the world we live in. Okay, you can't say anything that's mildly uncomfortable and it's not plastered all over. Okay, so that's the world we live in. It's very infuriating when you didn't grow up in that. When you didn't grow up in social media. Before social media, an adult can have a conversation with another adult and they can just keep it between them two. Okay. Those were the days. In this generation, you talk to anybody in their 20s and 30 something, or anyone who's, regardless of age, that's just highly too emotional or highly too sensitive. Man, look, I've had things said to me that I still don't even talk about. Oh my goodness. It's nothing more hilarious when someone walks up to you and tell you what they heard about you, knowing goodness well you heard a lot about them, but you don't talk about it. Because that's just how folks like me are. It's like, no, just because I heard it, just because there's proof doesn't mean you need to talk about things. You don't talk. Your mind thinks about a lot of things. That does not mean your mouth ought to talk about it, okay? So, again, Bill O'Brien, he was wrong. But at the same time, it has to be how you deal with it. Okay, it shows your maturity. Okay, so yeah, that really just yeah. As I said, I see both sides. Staying on the changing side topics, but not really. Matt Patricia and Darius Slay, I believe, formerly of the Detroit Lions. Okay. So, from my understanding, this is an old story. The DeAndre Hopkins thing just happened. So, this is an old story. So, the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia, who hasn't won anything, they fired Cardwell, their former coach, because in one season he only won 9 games. Matt Patricia in 2 seasons won total of 9 games in 2 seasons. Okay, so how is it you going to fire the black coach for only winning you 9 games? Look, Detroit, listen. Detroit Lions fans, let me tell you something. You are probably top 3 most tortured fan base of all sports history. Detroit Lions fans. You are the most tortured fan base, okay? Top 3, okay? You're up there with Cleveland. You're up there with Washington. You're up there with Cincinnati, okay? You are a tortured fan base, and you fired Jim Caldwell because he only won you 9 games. That's still a winning season. Detroit has not been relevant since 1991 when Barry Sanders took you on his back to the NFC Championship. That's the last time the Detroit Lions have been relevant. 1991. So here we are this happened in 2018. Jim Caldwell wins you 9 games with a team that wasn't that great. 9 games, and you fired him. So you bring in Matt Patricia because he was the defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. You bring him in. He wins 8-9 games in 2 seasons. What are we doing? Detroit, what are we doing? Detroit Lions, what are we doing? Okay, so that's it. So Darius Slay, he is a cornerback. He was a cornerback for them. He gets burned in a scrimmage or something, practice or something, by unnamed wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Okay, so they're in the practice room. They're in the film room. The way I understand it, and they're showing that footage of how Darius Slay got burned by the wide receiver. So, Darius Slay gives him dap, whatever, when the play occurred. So here we are. They're in the playroom, the film room, and Matt Patricia pulls it up, and he says, I won't repeat what he says, but it is highly inappropriate. Okay? Because it's just certain things that men just don't repeat, okay? So he totally disrespected him as a human being, not as a player, not as a player. He disrespected him as a man and as a human being, okay? So Darius Slay a couple of weeks ago tells that story after Detroit trades him to Philadelphia. Again, I see both sides. Matt Patricia, you haven't even played in the NFL. So how are you talking to a budding star in this league about getting burned, okay? And giving dap to his teammate? It was in a practice. It was in a practice. Because that guy was still his teammate, okay? So you went and said what you said, okay, in front of the entire team, embarrassing him like that? Man. Here's the other side of the coin. Darius Slay, you're still telling the story. We ain't talking about years later where the statutes of limitations are passed. Where you're featured on First Take on ESPN talking about this story, and it's like, okay, I say that because let me tell you, a lot of black coaches, in particular championship coaches, either as a player or as a coach, have said the same thing. Okay, I just heard on the Knuckleheads under the players tribute. Quentin Richardson said what Isaiah Thomas when Isaiah Thomas was the coach of the New York Knicks. Isaiah Thomas said the same exact thing, if not similar, the same thing to Quentin Richardson, and that didn't sit well with Quentin Richardson. So why is it Isaiah wasn't thrown under the bus? Okay, because that's Isaiah Thomas. Okay, former owner of the Toronto Raptors, two-time NBA champion, all-world player, okay, Hall of Famer or whatever. So what I'm saying is, you look at these situations with Coach Bill O'Brien and Coach Matt Patricia. Neither one of them have done anything in their coaching careers to address another player the way that they did. Okay. Both of them, I believe, are still dealing with the residue of being around Bill Belichick, who has 6 Super Bowl rings. Okay? When people respect you, people give you leeway. When you haven't done anything to deserve that, yeah, you're getting put on Front Street. And Bill O'Brien and Coach Matt Patricia has been put on Front Street. So wait. What kind of message are we sending here? You got to win a Super Bowl ring or a championship for people to say anything to you and you not make it go viral? What are we doing here? Okay. So as I said, it just wears me out, man. I mean, no. I have had crazy things said to me, but it wouldn't even cross my mind to just put those type of conversations, crazy things said and done to me. It wouldn't even cross my mind to put those things out. You know, if anything, I have friends that really get on me about not sharing certain feelings and certain things or whatever, and it's like, everything is not meant to be shared. Everything is not meant to be shared, okay? So, yeah. All right, so talking about those stories and everything, I just wanted to touch on the free agency market that has happened over the past couple of weeks, even during this coronavirus pandemic. The first free agency I want to talk about is Tom Brady. Tom Brady finally left New England. I figured he would. That didn't shock me. I understand the Boston fans because there's no fans like Boston fans. So I understand their feeling of loss. But Tom Brady, I watched it with Joe Montana. I watched it with Steve McNair. I watched it with Brett Favre. When you're not done, you're not done. And the older you get, the more you're trying to minimize your what ifs, okay? Walking away from the game when you're totally healthy, reasonably, relatively speaking, and you still got something left in the tank. You want to do it under your own terms, okay? So, Tom Brady, I applaud you for doing what felt right to you, okay? And by the way, Tampa Bay is a good team. Tampa Bay is a good team. I was sitting around thinking over the past couple of weeks, it's like, yo, I need to up my, I always wanted this, but I need to up my Tampa Bay gear, okay? Because even the creamsicle jerseys and colors from back in the 80s and 90s, yeah, I want to work that into the wardrobe. So yeah, I think that was an excellent move on Tampa Bay's part, an excellent move on Tom Brady's part. You know, we just have to see how it goes. The NFC South is now worth watching. That's very much worth watching. Drew Brees with with New Orleans makes sense. He's not done. Okay, 37, 38-year-old. Oh, sorry. He'll be turning 41 years old. If he's not 41 already, Drew Brees. I get it. A 41-year-old Drew Brees is better than a lot of quarterbacks that's out there now. Okay, so I get it. 2 years, 50 million, the same deal, the same amount that that Tom Brady got. I get it. That makes sense. Ndama Kasu. I like that, man. Signing him back. Tampa Bay is going to be tough, man. And let me comment on Jameis Winston. Now, I was a big fan of famous Jameis back in Florida State. That 2013 Florida State undefeated team, that was an underrated, historically, that was an underrated team. That team had at least 20 NFL players on it. People talk about the great Miami teams, the great USC teams, the great Texas teams. That Florida State undefeated team, the last champion in the BCS era, that team don't get enough love. Jimbo Fisher, that team don't get enough love, man. I was a huge fan of famous Jameis, until I found out in the next couple of years how much of a talker he was. This man commenting, being asked about the 30 interceptions, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 5,100 passing yards, which is amazing. That's amazing. But I don't care what sport you in. If you're a turnover machine, I don't care how many touchdowns you throw. His touchdown to interception ratio was basically 1-to-1. And his whole attitude was, I want my money. You want your money? You're a liability, man. 5,100 yards. You can pass the ball. Fine. But you also cough it up, because he also led the league in, I think it was at least 7 pick sixes, man. So 30 of those interceptions were pick sixes. And like, I heard a stat, like maybe 4 or 5 of them was out of the first play of the game. Are you kidding me? But this man stood in the press conference and said, I'm paraphrasing, if it wasn't for all these interceptions, I'd be balling. I'd be balling. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're going to throw 30 interceptions, which has never been done. They said that Jameis Winston threw more interceptions in that one season than Aaron Rodgers threw in his entire career. Famous Jameis has always lacked in awareness. I remember the crab leg situation where was number one. He did not get enough credit for that. Okay? Because he didn't come in and just get crab legs, whatever. Hey, I'm a celebrity, give me crab legs, whatever. No, that was a pre-existing understanding. That was a pre-existing understanding. So as much scrutiny as he got for that, he did not talk about that it was a pre-existing understanding. Because him and his teammates, all of them was getting stuff from that place, okay? They were all doing that. Okay, so I give him credit for that. So he had an awareness on that. So I give him credit for that. But as far as this I be balling statement, man, oh my goodness. Jesus be offense. What is this younger generation, man? I'm telling you, there is a lack of awareness. Like, I don't know what. Woo, man. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's keep going. New England signing Devin McCourty. You need that because this is a passing league. You need quality safeties. So I'm cool with that. Bill Barwell gave that transaction a B plus. Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. Let's see how it goes. Because Phillip Rivers, for him, he was a turnover machine this past season. Also, he was doing a lot of running for his life. I can't see at the moment exactly how old Phillip Rivers is, but he was running for his life, man. I don't believe a elder quarterback should be running for his life. If he's running for his life, other things are wrong. I get it if it's a younger quarterback, but not an older quarterback, man. So it's, Indianapolis, after Andrew Luck retired, Indianapolis just begun addressing the offensive line issues they've been having for years. Okay, so let's see how that situation goes. And Ndamukong Suh, we talked about that. All right, any good ones? Any more good ones? Okay, Jimmy Smith, Baltimore signed Jimmy Smith back. You need that. He's a quality DB. However, the injuries, I'm fully aware of that. Marcus Mariota at Las Vegas. This is the power of relationships. This is truly the power of relationships. So when John Gruden was still with ESPN, he was having the pre-draft quarterback show. So he'll invite the top quarterbacks in or what have you. So he would do he would interview them, and then at the end he would test their quarterback IQ by asking them questions and scenarios or whatever, throw some plays at them. So Gruden would always, hey, say some verbiage back to me. Explain the protection, explain the defense, explain what it is your guys ought to be doing, and he will always do that. When Marcus Mariota did the interview with him when he was coming out of Oregon, Gruden was very impressed with him. So it's amazing how a conversation, people would never forget how a conversation will go, okay? Because here we are, before this, Marcus Mariota, who I was a huge fan of at Oregon. Oh my goodness, huge Mariota fan. He needed a job. Tennessee was like, we got Ryan Tannehill. We don't need you, especially you trying to get paid. We're not doing that. So John Gruden